I thought this could be another fun idea for a video. You know how I love my top 10 list here on the Jackson Cougar Sports YouTube channel. How about the top 10 quarterbacks who are under 27 years old? So 26 or younger, meaning no Josh Allen, no Patrick Mahomes, guys who are 26 and under, and I'm talking about how good they are right now, not necessarily how good will they be in the future. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. Number 10 is Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, I thought had a very good rookie year. I'm interested in seeing where his career goes from this. I was pleasantly surprised with Kenny Pickett. Not to say I was overly negative on Pickett. I had him as kind of a fringe first rounder. He went pick 20, and I was kind of like, okay, fine. Sure enough, we'll see how it works out. He looked like he was really probably slept on. Now, how much room does he have to improve is a question. Where can he go from here is a question. But I think has shown, at least, if nothing else, he could be the kind of quarterback that you could be a contender with when he's on his rookie deal. Can he elevate to that elite player? We'll have to wait and see. But I thought had a very good rookie year. Number 9 is I believe he's the youngest player on this list. One of only two 23-year-olds. I didn't actually check who was younger between those two, but at least one of the bottom 2 youngest players on this list. How about that? Is Brock Purdy, who, again, very weird player to evaluate. I mean, what he did was incredible, right? I mean, if you look at the team's success, they never lost with him in there. They only lost once he got banged up and couldn't play anymore. He was nearly flawless and had great numbers while doing it. The obvious asterisk is it was in an incredible situation for him to succeed. Granted, he still outperformed players like a player like Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think we all agree is a good player. Can Brock Purdy be successful on another team? I don't know. I'm not sure I would bet on it, but at the same time, he doesn't have to play for another team. He plays for the 49ers and does great in that system. So number 9, definitely a tough guy to put on the list, though. It's hard to figure out exactly where he belongs. Number 8 is Justin Fields, who some people would have higher on their own personal list, and I certainly think that, again, if I'm betting on Fields to be successful or not be successful, I'm betting on him to be successful. That's just how I view him as a player. But the reality is, as of right now, he is a very young player who we just have not seen yet fully be great in the passing game. Now, I've made a whole film study. I'm not sure if it's out yet or if it will be out soon, but today I also recorded a film study on Fields, just his running ability. It's so good that it puts him on the list just for that alone. The issue is that he pretty much is just that alone now, although I do wonder how much of some of the throwing struggles have just simply been due to the Bears having terrible talent around him. Obviously, some of that is due to the talent around him, but is it all of that due to the talent around him? I really don't know, and we'll find out this year. Number 7 is Kyler Murray, who would be, maybe top 3 or 4 on the list if I did this last year, or certainly during the middle of last year, where he looked to be on his way to win MVP. But right now, it's almost kind of becoming a bit of a, well, he did almost win an MVP that one year type of thing, which makes you wonder, okay, how, there's some issues with Kyler Murray and what he did last year. Last year was not a great year from him. It just wasn't. And so if he can go back to that guy of, at the beginning of the season 2 years ago, then he could easily be better. But it's just kind of, we haven't seen consistent greatness from Murray. We have seen greatness from him, and I'll say we've seen higher highs from him than the next 2 guys on my list. I'll say that, but we haven't seen it consistently enough. So right now I'm going 7. But again, if I do this next year, could easily see him being higher on the list. Number 6 is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, the other 23-year-old who may or may not be the youngest player. I'm not going to fact check it. We'll just, someone in the comments will certainly let me know which one is actually younger. But Trevor Lawrence, someone who, again, I think the hype's gotten a bit too high on Lawrence. I'll say that. I think there's been a bit too much hype. Not crazy too much hype, though. He easily could be an elite quarterback next year. That's possible. I would just say he is not currently an elite quarterback. He has not shown that just quite yet, although he has been very good, and he has shown a lot of flashes of really great stuff. So 6th on this list is not a bad place to be. There's a lot of really good young quarterbacks. Showed a lot of great stuff. And I think as he gets older, because again, only 23 years old, younger than Kyler Murray, a couple years younger than Kyler Murray, as he just gets more time to be in the league, I think he'll get better at like the getting through his reads quicker, because that's probably the one area of his weakness, I would say, is he still is kind of, it takes him a little bit longer to get to his next read and stuff like that. But I think he'll get that down eventually, and once he does, I think he'll be, the sky's the limit with him. Number 5, Tua. Tua definitely belongs on this list, in my opinion. 25 years old, and again, hey, similar to Kyler Murray, he was an MVP candidate before getting injured. Although for Tua, it was, just last year, not 2 years ago. Although I would also mention, at no point was Tua really going to win MVP. Kyler was like the favorite at a certain point. Tua was kind of like the guy you threw in as, because you want to give 3 options, and he was like the third guy you would throw in, which is still very impressive. Tua did some really good stuff. And while he was in a very good situation, I think he did stuff to elevate that situation as well. And we saw a good player in Teddy Bridgewater really not do much when he was in at quarterback replacing Tua. So because of that, I think that Tua deserves a lot of credit for what he did. That's why he's at number 5, although I would say there is probably a bit of a tier gap in between 5 and 4. Let's talk about number 4. Number 4 is Lamar Jackson, who is one of 2 players who will not be on this list next year because he's 26 and then would be too old to be on the list. But Lamar, who has been in the league for a bit now, kind of surprising that he is still just 26 years old. I really do feel like maybe had his best year, most complete year, I should say, last season. He did so much so effectively for the Baltimore Ravens. I thought the passing game was as good as it's ever been, and the rushing game was still very good. He's still Lamar Jackson. I do feel like a lot of his criticisms that go his way are really criticisms of the Ravens offense as a whole, their lack of receivers, lack of ability to get guys open. I think he should be fine now that they have what on paper is a pretty good receiving core. We'll see how it goes. Number 3, and to be honest, number 2, 3, and 4, you could argue between all 3 of them, but I have Herbert here. I think Herbert did some great stuff for the Chargers last year. I do think he's a bit underrated due to things that are kind of outside of his control. It really is a shame that the Chargers have pretty much wasted his entire rookie contract. That's such a bummer because, you want to be competing for Super Bowls in that time. You don't want to be just, competing to, try to win a playoff game. Still hasn't won a playoff game, but has showed up in big moments in the past. And again, does so much of the little things well. We all know about the physical tools Herbert has, but he just understands the game of football and how to do the little things so effectively. That's why I have him at number 3. Number 2, I have Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts makes the list at number 2, who, again, Jalen Hurts was probably number 2 in MVP voting last year if they did a full ballot instead of just having one person, one vote type situation. He was great. He was absolutely great last season. And I think that the question that is fair to ask is, will he be as good when he's not in as good of a situation? That is a totally fair question to ask, but I think that we can still evaluate players even if they're in great situations. Yes, he was in a great situation, but he legitimately played great. So, I'm putting him at 24. That would be pretty low. Putting him at 2, he's only 24 years old. That's why I said it, because I read it and I pulled a Ron Burgundy there. Number 1, gotta be Joe Burrow. Seems like an obvious pick, really. I mean, if Mahomes is off the board, Joe Burrow seems like the clear-cut number 2. Does have a history of showing up in the big moments, but also has a history of just, I think, being a great player in the regular season as well. I thought that, you could argue pass for pass in 2021, he was the best quarterback in football during the regular season, although cooled off a bit in the playoffs. This past year, he had a couple, again, if he didn't have to play the Steelers, he'd be great, right? That's the issue, is the Steelers sometimes give him some trouble. But other than that, he's been fantastic, so he's number 1. But that's my list. What is yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.